with a running buffet of acumen and discernment, Danny Baker.
No.
Hey. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed for that scripted applause. Now, listen, I've been here, what, 2.5 months now? How long have I been the cuckoo in the nest? Cuckoo in the nest, 2.5 months now. And you know me, by now I've usually dispensed with 3 little observations, 2 sallies and 1 scientific fact. I'm here to entertain. But sometimes I think I'm being taken for granted. 2.5 months, three questions a day, a scientific experiment every day on the dot. I'm here, Mr. Smiles, doing the Des smile. Hello, hello, all of that. I asked for a day off yesterday to see my daughter's nativity play, and it was thrown back in my face. They want me here. Who are we going to get to replace you, Dan? Ooh, at the end of yesterday's show. Oh, jokes all around because one of my sideburns is longer than the other. Live on the air, that was. They broke that to me. And so I said, well, who we got? I said, I can find a replacement. I've got one indoors. It's the disembodied head of little Dan. Ladies and gentlemen, you be the judge. Should I be here next week or should? By him. Please, look, there he is. Look at that. I've been a little generous in the hair, I'll give you that. This is a few years old now. But I'm thinking that's it. Computer-generated voices, they can... Go in on this, right? Go in on that. This is next week. And my computer, it's not perfect, but it runs about the same speed as me. Play me talking. I'm telling you, is this not the star of the future? No. I've got to be here. Oh, hang on. I can make it perfect if that's the way forward. Now we're getting somewhere. You see, ladies and gentlemen, the business I do for the show, and now this on this side. Outside of the improvement, would you know the difference? No. I've got to be here, nose to the grindstone, chain to the wheel. Happy to entertain you. 3 questions today. Karen in... I'll lighten up by the end of the show. Karen in Colchester says, what happened to Chanel 1, 2, 3 and 4 then? We'll find out that later on in the show. Emma in Wickham says, nuclear weapons have all been got rid of now, we hear, but what have they done with them? You wait till you hear the answer to that, Emma. Darren in Preston says, is Walt Disney really frozen under an ice rink somewhere? Terrific answer to that. Lots of people want to know. And later on, why this should be on your Christmas tree, on everyone's Christmas tree. Now back to my friend.
It's scary.
That was a bit frightening. 6 years ago, I...
Come on, Dan. I'll go either side. Whatever.
You stay there, Peter.
Oh, sit there, Peter.
I'll sit there.
We like
Right,
having you.
you 2 friends, you're scaring me and make up together, you 2.
Do you believe? Oh, no, a load of old rubbish. I do apologise to our previous guest, but I don't. Until one lands in Trafalgar Square and goes, hello, we're here. I mean, the burden of proof's not on us to prove it. It's up to them to prove it. No, I don't believe it.
I believe it.
I believe
No, you don't.
No, don't be silly.
It's nice to think
Don't
there's
be
something there.
silly.
Not the oldest seen one.
Noddy, well, there you go. Professor Noddy
Karen in
Holder.
Colchester wants to know, whatever happened to Chanel number 1, 2, 3 and 4?
There was no Chanel number 1, 2, 3 and 4. And I'll rattle through this because I think Peter should be in the chair. But there is no Chanel...
You earn your money. Go on.
I do it every day. Emma wouldn't let me have a day off.
Go on, go on.
There is no Chanel number 1, 2, 3 and 4. It's Coco Chanel's favourite number. That's all it is. It's like Kodak. Meant nothing. George Eastman, who run the Kodak company, likes to let a K. Sat around with all day with a little pad, came out and said, that's it, the firm's called Kodak. It means nothing. And by the way, Linda Eastman, who, of course, married to Paul McCartney, nothing to do with the Kodak empire. Everyone thinks she was part of the Kodak. She wasn't. She just had the same name as him. A couple of 3 more are written down here if I've got to sit here and work. X-Lax just stands for excellent laxative. Avon. Americans thought it sounded classy because that's where Shakespeare comes from, so the Avon company named after that. Xerox. Xerox used to be called the electrophotography company until they called in a fellow who happened to have Greek ancestry. He said, you know, Greek for the kind of what we're doing with here, dry writing, is... they said, dry writing? I mean, yeah, Xerox. Yes, they got a dry writing. That's what it means. The Xerox came from dry writing. And lastly, I always like to leave you one of these. These are all family names. These mean nothing, but they are the name of the family who own them. Hoover, Mars, we know. Birdseye, we know. But and also Goodyear, who do the blimps. It's all named after people. Birdseye's the funny one. Nobody believes there really is a Mr., not a Captain Birdseye, but there is. Anyway, Chanel number 5 means nothing. It was her favourite number. There is no 1, 2, 3 and 4.
Thank you.
Nor 6. Thank you very much indeed.
Emma in Wickham asks, since the Cold War has finished, what's happened to all the nuclear weapons?
Well, occasionally, like, I'll sit down and I'll look at it and think, oh, well, you know, it's probably being used for powering tractors somewhere, who knows? But the stories we need to know about this, and thank you for your question, which takes me here. Stories we need to know about this is when we did have nuclear weapons. And it had nothing to do with the Cold War, it had nothing to do with Cuba, when we really came close. These are actual...
13 days.
There was.
I've seen that film.
13 days. But listen to this, how about this? These are all dragged up. Go and check them out if you don't believe it. July 1956, a B-47 plane ploughed into a storage hangar just outside Cambridge. July 1956. The plane's fuel burst into flames, set fire to everything, but didn't harm the contents, which was just as well as there were 3 Mark VI nuclear weapons in there. That was in Cambridge in 1956. May 1958, a B-47E actually dropped a nuclear weapon onto a family vegetable garden in Mars Bluff, Texas. It didn't go off. It damaged 2 houses and a church spire. The Air Force apologised. Fact number 3, in February 1980, a repairman called George, that's all we know about him, was working on a Titan II weapon in the hangar when he dropped his spanner. It bounced, it punctured the missile, it blew the warhead off 600 feet in the air through the top of the silo, it came down in some bushes, nobody was harmed. But those are 3 true stories of when we did have nuclear weapons.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Darren from Preston.
Just before we move on, just on the Disney thing, before we move on, Gabs, I wrote this down just for the hell of it. Listen to this. Listen to this. Talking about Disney.
I haven't asked you the question yet.
Oh, no, go on. Go on then.
Darren from Preston wants to know if it's true that Walt Disney is frozen in ice.
I thought we'd done that one. We haven't, have we?
We haven't, no.
Do you think Walt Disney's frozen in ice? You've heard that, though, yeah?
Han Solo, I know that.
Han Solo's frozen in ice for a bit. Walt Disney, I was prepared to come out and say, no, it's one of those stories goes around, Walt Disney's frozen in ice, or his head is frozen in ice, because I'd heard it before now, poo-pooed and put aside. But in fact, when I was looking at it, Disney actually is frozen in ice, according to the book Disney's World. And people who knew him said Walt was such a fan of the 1964 book Prospect of Immortality that he based Epcot, and even been to Florida, go to Epcot there, which is known as the experimental prototype community of tomorrow. Fascinated by things like this. Actually did put himself into, it's about looking as well.
It's all in.
It's all there.
Cryogenics.
Cryogenics. He's well into cryogenics. Now, cryogenics is taken from nature because frogs can do that. In the winter, a half of a frog will freeze. Its heart will stop, its blood rate will go down, they can freeze and come back to life. So it is possible.
Do you like them factoids on Steve Wright?
Oh, well, I wouldn't mind having a few quid of that. Steve Wright, well, thank you, in my own right. No, anyway, so you can tell. We'll bicker after the show.
I think you said the wrong thing there.
We've been together a long time, Pete. He calls me Susan in the press, but we've been together a very long time. No, it's not. But Disney probably is frozen, and he's taken his leaf out of nature. At the moment, 488 people are frozen worldwide. There used to be 45 in Chicago, but 15 of the tanks leaked and they died. But 30 people are, but it's a real thing. And
Now
Disney's
your
one of
balls,
them.
please.
Let's
Thank
do this,
you.
Pete. You're going to love this. Watch this. Oh, come and do it. Come and do it. Look. Here's the thing. Somebody wrote to us and said their Christmas tree is above their fish tank. And what's happening is as the balls fall off, the things are falling in there. They're getting this overnight. They're getting this sort of thing, and it's falling to the bottom. And they said it's not only incapacitating the fish, but they have to fish them out every morning. So, well, is there anything we can do about this? Do you believe this letter? Don't really know. OK, so what it is, so what do you think now? I'm going to ask you, Peter, OK? You are the hottest property in Britain. Which one of these two, if applied to a Christmas tree, will float? Why would I do it if it weren't the answer I'm looking for?
I'm not gonna say.
You take that. You take that. I'll take.
I think it's this one.
You think it's? You have a go. See if it isn't. Here we go. So you put the. You got. No, don't. Not yet. Not 1 minute. Right, so let's try the golf ball. Float, sink, float, or sink. Sink. Straight. How about a genuine, actual bowling ball? Float or sink? Give it a go, Peter.
Sink.
Oh! So what we're telling you is, if you've got a Christmas tree, stick those on it. You'll have no problem with your goldfish. For the first time on television, the double act of Baker and Kay, like the Billy. There you go.
Wonderful work.
After the break.